All right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode. This is episode number 130, and allow me to welcome my guest today, or welcome him back, rather. It's been a while since we've heard from him. Adam Larson, what's going on, man?
Not too much. Who would have thought you wouldn't hear from me, right? Like, wasn't I just the always the one who wouldn't shut up?
Well, we'll see how this goes. This is a marathon, not a sprint, you got to remember.
I like the long distance stuff, so we're good there.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think a good starting point would be to talk about where you've been, what you've been up to, how's life been for you so far in the last couple of years since you've kind of gone off the grid a tiny bit.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, I feel like I've been off the grid for like 2 decades, but I realized like I did a few challenges and came back for that live road rules. But that was during kind of like my acting days, I would call it, which would mean like acting like trying to become an actor because I had no talent unless I had like bottles of booze in my hands. So pretty quick, I got into like serving and bartending type of thing. And thank God the spirits industry picked me up. But that's like another story. But I became a dad. I didn't have the children, but I have children. And I married that person, and we got married first, and then we had kids. But that didn't work out, and I dealt with like I think what Road Rules and the whole MTV experience really prepared me for was like to do work, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
and like being privileged white men, we need to, because I think a lot of things are like we're controlled by our subconscious, right? Like 80% of it is there, and like those conscious moments that we have are just really nice, but they're more like whatever was programmed for us. And I just grew up in a really toxic household where, or volatile household, not like dysfunctional, but not toxic, like tons and tons of love, tons of sense of responsibility, but like we didn't communicate well, and there was no affection. And so like for when I finally like broke, like I would just blow. And so I really was like, wow, I just got divorced. I'm changing jobs. I've got kids. There's a separation. There's custody. Like, what can I do? And I was like, oh, it's all me. Like, what are the controllables? What are the things I'd like to control? What's actually in my control? That's a much smaller circle within the circle. And like, so I tried to rebuild Adam 2.0. And I could only do that because I had like this unbiased third person perspective from watching the shows so many times and being embarrassed, but being able to like disconnect from who I was seeing portrayed and just kind of be like, all right, but like, is that who you want to be? Is that like now you have women and like you're going to try to raise well-adjusted women, but you just want people to like be like, oh, that's just Adam. I know he loves me, but that's just Adam. It's like, no, man, like let's hold ourselves a little bit more responsible. Let's try to raise the vibration of like collective society. And so I've been like dreaming of creating this like travel lifestyle company where you take people on these like, did you ever see the movie The Game with Michael Douglas?
Yeah.
It's like the best movie ever, right? Well, like I wanted to do that because like Road Rules taught me that like if you like throw a couple cameras around people, even if they're a GoPro, that you can create these moments. And then you could give somebody something. So like, let's use a cheesy example like spring break, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you go on spring break, it's like you have this moment, but like the third person who asks you how your spring break was, or how your vacation was, or how your Christmas was, or whatever it is, like you kind of give them a canned answer. But like, what if you actually had something to show them that was like expanding and like that would show them like what was capable of their life and like maybe this amazing roller coaster of emotions that you had while on a rafting trip with your family, but like everybody, but it was kind of like a very, just like the game was choreographed to like bring this person through these highs and lows. It's very therapeutic in that essence. It's kind of like, how do you create heroes' journeys for people for important aspects of their life? And like, I don't know. I just gonna keep on rambling. I feel like I've got to give you 2 hours, man. Like,
Yeah.
I just. So so I'm gonna rewind. What have I been up to since the shows? I was working in the wine and spirits business. Absolutely loved it. Selling to restaurants and on-premise type of places, and I got promoted and got to work on just the craft spirits type of thing. Basically, being the storyteller for these amazing distilleries and brands, and I loved it so much. But like. There wasn't a lot of like I think I kind of maybe capped out in that, or I was like what else is there? Because I get bored really easily.
Hmm.
And I also got a little greedy, and that's a lesson I learned. I wanted to go work for these brands that I was building and get a little bit of like try to get some equity or something like that. I wanted to build brands, but I also wanted to have some sense of ownership in it. And I created that's kind of what I had done wrong as an actor. Like if anybody wants to be any kind of artist out there, like do the work. Like if you want to act, write, create your own vehicle. If you want to sing, like you better be writing songs. If like you want to be living life, you better be journaling and meditating on it. And like if you're not focused on something, then like all the other shit is going to distract you. And that's not just if you're ADHD.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. So would you say that like it was an organic thing for you coming off? What was your last entertainment thing that you did? Was it that Road Rules, that final one, The Viewer's Revenge? That was the last entertainment thing you did, or were you still acting after that?
No, that was it. I realized like as an actor that I wasn't really good at remembering my lines, and that goes back to something like just being dyslexic and yeah, I don't think I was playing to my skill set. I also just don't have the personality, man. Like I would love to host like travel shows and do all those type of things, but it's very hit or miss. And so the nice thing about like I had thousands of auditions. I did so many horrible student and independent film projects, but it was more just like an exercise. And I wanted to be an actor because I wanted to experience all these different lives. And I thought that like if I could like play a character and dive into something that I could like create connections and empathy with other like it was super unpopular growing up. So like I was friends with every single group, and I use that term loosely because I just knew everybody in every single group because like everybody kind of like didn't want to be my friend. So everybody knew me. I was like, if you don't, they say like the cantaloupe in the fruit salad, right? Like if you don't know who that guy in the group is, like you're usually that guy. Like I was just like a cannonball run. Like I didn't know how to get attention because my parents worked really, really hard. They had a strong sense of financial responsibility that meant both parents are working out of the house. And so my brother didn't come along until I was 6. So I kind of grew up and like had that only child thing, and like just wasn't I don't know, I wasn't kept in line, man. And it just when I finally got a second chance and my mom and dad relocated to New Hampshire, and they did it for me. Like they literally they went back home closer to family. That's why doing something multi-generational and community is so important to me. Like I want to build a village. I want to build this travel company, but I want to have like a community where there's like treehouse Airbnbs to like a small, like a container type of gathering center, like community center where there's multiple establishments where people can like put forth their skills, whether it's a bike shop or a coffee shop or like somebody just like has this cute little daycare thing. But like I don't know if it sounds cheesy, man, but like I think it's time to circle the wagons. Like I still have an RV. Like I'm still, that's what I'm going to be doing is, well, it's a Thor Vegas. It's a 25-foot, but looks like a Class A. It's just like, it's so much fun. And now you can Airbnb everything. You know what I mean? You can community share, you can Uber, you can like, there's already this sense of community. It's like, there's a financial incentive. Like, why would I want to buy a lawnmower if I could put one in the shed and we could all just fucking share it? You know what I mean? Like, are we allowed to swear, by the way?
Yeah.
This is Skype, right?
Go ahead.
Skype sounds bad. There we go. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Yeah. Reality TV and entertainment, I've realized, is kind of like a shit or get off the pot. See, I just did it to make you feel a little at home.
I appreciate you stepping in the basket there with me.
I'm glad I could be of service. No, reality TV and entertainment's kind of like a shit or get off the pot type of thing. If you don't intend on that being like your career path forever, you kind of have to pivot and immediately go into something else. Like it comes at you fast once you get off your original show. You know what I'm saying? How often?
So like it shouldn't even be that.
Yeah.
It should only be an experience. It's only supposed to be like to get caught in that personality that you were when you were like, they cast us very specifically from 18 to 24 because that's a very rudderless point in our lives where we're figuring out exactly who we are, but we're also adults. So like we can drink and like there's even more stuff that can go on. And like I think that gosh, like you need to like view that time in reality TV as exactly what it was, and be beautiful with it, because like so many wonderful people that I've met from the show, like literally like became the person who was portrayed on TV, and then like got asked back or got response from like the audience or like response from fans and stuff like that. And it's like, holy shit, that's a downward spiral. That's really bad. You know what I mean? That's like combining, that's at that age, you don't know whether good attention or bad attention. You don't know the difference. You're just getting attention, right? And so you lean into it. And if you're an empathetic person who's like into pleasing people, like, oh man. And if you can, and like, there's so many narcissists and like just people who don't give a F about you, who can like really take advantage of you out there. You know what I mean? Like if you don't have a good, strong support network, if you don't have that village or that tribe. So I like.
Did you feel that with you, like when you were on the shows? Because you don't really strike me as someone that the show's really consumed. Like you did your original show and then you just sporadically sprinkled in challenge appearances and then you just went on about your day. Like that didn't happen with you, did it?
No, it was such a catalyst for me, man. It was like the best. So doing the show, so I sat down with John Murray in Morocco in John's past. So like, I feel like I could tell this story. John was just a beautiful human being, and John and Mary Ellis were, I think it was early on, like it was early enough where we could still like, they still felt like we were their kids, even though they had like that amazing soap opera and documentary pedigree, and they brought it together and they understood the archetypes that like this casting, that each person fits into it, and that like, and then you put them together and you put these, like they understood the equation so beautifully. But like John was like in Marrakesh, like he's like, so like what do you think? Like we're kind of starting off your trip for you. And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, and by the way, you like, most people, like the wall never comes down, right? Like you can't, like I didn't have this conversation with like my camera person, my audio person, the director, the producer, like unless it was an interview, you never got to talk to these people. So like the conversation I had with John that one time was just like, he had just flown in. He wasn't really a part of everything, but he asked me, he's like, about starting the trip. And then he was like, remember, like when you graduate college, you're gonna like backpack from Morocco and like go through Spain, and like you're super excited about like Croatia and like ending in Greece. Like we're kind of starting that trip for you. Aren't you excited? And I was like, holy fuck! Like the universe is just like so taking care of me, and like things are just falling into my lap. And that's how everything went. Like I just kind of like kept on leaning forward and like having these amazing experiences. And like the eco challenge, I went from like volunteering to like see if I could even just like be like to see if I could be a volunteer. And they were like, would you want to put together a team from MTV? And I don't know, man, like I'm just so grateful. Like that's my thing, is like I just sit in a state of gratefulness or like appreciation. And now that I want to be like the spiritual guide and really like raise beautiful women, like you don't need to do much. You just need to get out of people's way and get in that flow of energy that the universe already has going on for you without getting too like hippie chick.
Yeah. How often, besides this present moment, do you ever think back? Because obviously fatherhood puts some mileage on you, right? Like you're not going to really too often think about things that you were doing back in your 20s. How often, if ever, do you really like reminisce and think back aside from what we're doing right now?
Such a good question, man. Like it's the challenges and like the initial show all the time. Like I would like the challenges just like when you think about certain people, but the initial show all the time. Like
The quest?
like what's that?
The Road Rush quest?
Yeah, the quest. Yeah, man, like it's that time in your life. You're a reality TV virgin. Like you don't know what's gonna air. You
The
don't
cherry pop.
Yeah. I would say my favorite thing actually was even the casting special. Like to see me that young and that like I think that was just really unique. And I mean I'm not the stuff that I think about the most is not always the stuff I'm most proud of either. Like I just showed my 7-year-old because I was like, oh, but I had to find the clip on, like, I don't even know where my episodes and my seasons are, right? Like I literally had to like find some old grainy uploaded. I think it was like it had like our voice, but like Turkish subtitles on it or whatever. It was like to find the first episode of Road Rules where we climb out of the helicopter and into the desert, and like we got a bunch of camels that like they were all follower type of camels. There wasn't a pack leader, and so I had to drag this camel for 2 days, and it was like, and just to see like that experience, and but to like have my kids watch it, and but not want to show them too much of the stuff because it gets kind of you know how it gets. I think about it all the time, man. Like I'll walk by and I'll see like I have like a folded shirt, like a jersey. I don't know. I try to save this stuff. I'm super sentimental. I think there's a golden camel somewhere from getting like mummified and wrapped up for like 24 hours with Katie in a coffin. I really have fond memories. Like I've been, yeah, it's just beautiful, man. Like the people who you meet, like when I say expanders, I think everybody needs to go out there and we need to really like, who are the 5 people we surround ourselves with most? And then we just need to say, okay, how are they expanding our lives? And expanding can like be like definitely taking away from us. Like maybe they're sapping our energy or whatever. But like, how do you want to be expanded? Maybe you don't have the modeling you needed like from your parents in order to be like an affectionate lover. So like, all right, well, what's a great couple that is affectionate for you? Or like, maybe you don't have a lot of business acumen and like financial, like who could expand that one area of your life? We really have to be more intentional. And so like looking back, and I just got lucky that I had a bunch of interesting things, but I became a Peter Pan, like without doubt. Like I had to own that. Like I was just a entrepreneur and I was a dreamer, and I was just like, I'd fill up one balloon with an idea and like wouldn't even fucking tie a knot in it, right? Like you take all this time to blow up. You've got this great idea. It's like, I don't know, man. Like just like so you do all this work in life, and then like you're not putting it all together. You're just not tying the bow on it. So like, good for you for actually launching your podcast and doing something, not just wanting to do it and telling people about it, but like holding yourself accountable. Like, I love that.
Thank you. Well, how about we talk about what you did? What were you doing that led to you auditioning and getting onto the quest originally?
So I was down in Puerto Rico doing an internship. I was going to graduate from BU's hospitality school like a little bit early, and I went down to work with one of the board, like person who's on the board of directors. He's considered the grandfather of tourism in the Caribbean. His name is Hugh Andrews, and launched Hyatt down there, but he had gone into Puerto Rico and done El San Juan Hotel and just a bunch of amazing things. And I lived in this old converted like nunnery, whatever the nun one is. I think it's nunnery. Anyway, like this place
we'll go with that.
It's called the El Bohemian, or El Boheme was the restaurant in there, and Conquistador was the other hotel. And then there's a place in Vieques that I had like 4 jobs there. I literally went in there. They put me in, and I was like, he's like, listen, and every hospitality internship I had was like this, by the way. Like I would literally work from like housekeeping, engineering, like marketing, like I would work everything. And I loved the culinary side. So like at BU, I was doing the culinary classes. And so I'd be in the kitchen. I'd wrap up at like 6 o'clock in the day, and then like I'd hang out with the chefs in the kitchen until 10. Like they owned me, right? They literally owned me at this place. And every once in a while I'd get out and try to meet the locals or like learn how to dance, and horrible at it. But like, I had, and one of the girls who I was dating was super cool. She like asked me to come with her to this audition in the morning for like Real World. And I was back in the days when I think I knew about them because I think I taught the Boston cast. I think I taught Elka. Anyway, I like was a snowboard instructor up at Sunday River when like the Boston Real World cast came up there, and I was in charge of like the kids seasonal program, and so it was just like I knew about Real World. I knew about Road Rules, but I really didn't know what I was getting into, and I definitely didn't know about this beforehand. And at the audition, kind of went around the table of like 15 people. Everybody introduced themselves and came to her, and she's just like, "Yeah, this like he's going back to Boston, and he's leaving me, and he promised this." And I was just like, "Okay." And I just like seen that everybody was basically full of drama. I went around the room, and I was just like, wasn't very kind. I was very frustrated at the time, and like my words were just like extremely like I'm not even proud of it. Like I can't even talk about it right now. But like I could just tell that some people were like overly okay. So like if I'm trying to act like this like Jersey Shore type of guy, like I might take on a character to do that, right? If I'm trying to act, if I'm just figuring out whether like if I've been bullied my whole life and like now I'm just like owning like that I'm gay or transgender or whatever it might be, like it was just all too much for me. Like everybody was just like kind of like
heightening their
they were literally holding up a book and being like, judge me by this, and I'm a victim, and it was just like, and so I just kind of picked every single person apart. I was like personally, I don't know what you're struggling with, and like I don't know why you're painting your nails, and like I don't like I would just like, but I walked out of the room, and all three of the directors or whatever casting people or whatever like left everybody else inside, and they were just like, would you make a video? Will you come back? Like, I was just like, no, this thing isn't for me. My girlfriend convinced me to make a video because they put both of us through, and I got into it, and it was just, I don't know how they picked a white guy down in Puerto Rico, and I don't know like how they like. I was not nice, but like my dad was what we call brutally honest, and if you know what being brutally honest is, it's like being honest for like when you don't need to be, or when it's definitely not kind. I've tried to change that part about me.
I've seen a pattern. They like to pick the people that maybe don't take the process as seriously or are kind of like going against the grain, you know, because if you don't want them, they're going to want you more than someone that's showing up there and showing their ass pretty much. Like,
well, I'm not sure. I'm not sure we exist anymore, right? Like, if you don't go in with a personality to use reality TV for the pedestal that, or the 15 minutes that it might afford you, like you were saying, if you're not going into it just for that spring break or vacation like experience, you're missing the point. But like, to be that raw and to go into it that like with a devil may care type of attitude, and that's kind of the stage that I'm in now. Is like I think that's why I considered like going back and hanging out with the veterans and or not the veterans. I don't even know what to call people. Just like old cast members, like the people who like I adore and the people who I saw grow and the people who I saw kind of, you know, put it all out there. And like there's just so much of a connection that the old cast has. Because we were so raw, we didn't know what was out there. Nowadays, like it's probably, I don't know how it went from being like Real World and Road Rules, and then Survivor came out when I did my first season of Survivor. Yeah, like now there's so much great stuff that's out there. So I think they're trying to cast more in. I say more interesting people, but like, you know, they need to have characters on there who can deliver, because they've got to compete with better shows.
Yeah. So now was that a Road Rules or Real World open call that you said you were auditioning for?
It was both. I'm not sure. Do they do them differently?
Them to do the casting special was your season when they had it was Back to New York, which was season 10 of the Real World, and then obviously Road Rules: The Quest. They threw you all in the Hamptons, if I'm correct, in a big mansion or something like that, and you had.
We went and hung out. We did that after the show. The casting special was in Palm Springs, and it's at this like super cool little place. But there was 27 of us. And and then when they picked 13, we didn't even know. We had to go home back to wherever we were and didn't even know where we were going until we got to the airport. Like, we tried to figure it out. We weren't supposed to call each other. We were afraid we were going to get kicked off the shows if like you do call each other. And so it was I don't know, man. I like that. I like that. Like, I'm getting giddy just thinking about it. Like I like surprises, and I think it's fun to like. If I mean, like Amazing Race is that's my jam. If like I feel like that would be like the business I would want to create for myself. Like if if you're just like super selfish and want to work doing something you also love, like yeah, travel company all day long for me.
What a crop of people they had in that house, though. Like, you look at the amount of people that got plucked from that casting special, and they've gone on. Some of them are still doing shows today, and obviously, like, you look at some of the things that some of them have gone on to do too. Oh my God! Like, in your opinion, did they get it right though? Where people were placed, as far as with the Quest and the Back to New York season? Like, do you feel like people were placed in the right spots?
Good question. That's a great question. I would say that like anybody who says that they weren't placed right, like I would need to understand their why. I think that it might be what they're looking for out of the show, but I think that they're super 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 smart. Like they only need a couple different archetypes, and once they have their chess pieces or whatever, it doesn't matter what house you're in. It doesn't like an RV can exacerbate the issues because you're so on top of each other, but like you also don't want to exacerbate the issues. Like that's why Road Rules is like 8 to 10 weeks, and like and Real World is I think 20 weeks or something like that. It's because like you want the connections and everything, and like the hive like movement of characters amongst each other, but you don't want to, like in an RV you'll fucking kill each other, like literally. Like I had to try to figure out how to navigate like some like romantic relationships, like driving, responsibilities, cleaning. Like I mean, they didn't even think about shit. Like we ran out of propane like a week in, and we're driving around in Morocco, like trying to like speak Spanish and French, right? Like literally, Blair and I were like, we would like try to put things in on apps, and like, I mean, we truly we traveled. Like we had to like heat up water bottles in the microwave and go in the shower, like take all of our trash bags of laundry and all the like the mission stuff that was just nasty. That was like the only place to put our clothes. It was awesome. Like, but I would never do that again. There's no way. Like
you were a hellraiser on that show. On the Quest.
You don't even know. Like I was such an asshole. Like I have so many things to apologize to people for. Like
how do you feel about how they depicted you? Because you can correct, this is how, from the viewer, like just watching it, this is how I feel like they tried to paint it. As like the holier than thou cocky guy that fights with all the girls. That's kind of how they tried to make it look.
Yeah,
is that spot on in your opinion, or do you feel like?
You know what? I think it's always fair to kind of like. I'll have to connect you with Mom and Allie later on, and you could ask them. But like you know what, Mike? Like in all honesty, it's like you got to get on the Adam train, and if you're on the Adam train, then like it's a great trip. I'll take great care of you, like hospitality. But like I'm a Capricorn and I'm a fucking goat, dude. Like I'll climb up the side of a mountain,
or like an actual goat.
Like Capricorn's a goat. Oh, what is a goat? Oh, like what?
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, man. But like, I've really softened, and I didn't see myself as that because I care about people so much, and I am such a pleaser. So I was like, no, like they agreed. They knew like what kind of like how competitive I am, but they also knew like that I would carry them on my back. Like, so for me to be like motivating and being a driver type personality in physical, like rock climbing, like in stuff that I happen to be in my element in, like, it's just like taken out of context. And like, you look at 1 minute I'll have like short hair, another minute I'll have like curly hair. It's like, okay, so I can look at that and I can have my feelings hurt, and I could be like, oh, but this is the show. This is the entertainment part of it. So I'm like, yeah, but you have to be super careful. Like I kept a journal, and I got home from the experience. I wrote like 40 pages about, like, I called it the basic road trip. It was like BASSEK. It was like Blair, Adam, Sophia, Ellen, Katie, Steve or Sophia, Steve, and hopefully I don't hang up on you. There you go. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
But it's beautiful, man. When you write about that experience and you take the time to do it, then you remember it how you want to. If you're lazy and you just watch what they put on TV, then there's nowhere in the contract that says that they're going to make you look good. That's why there's the business idea of it, right? Like, what about if we actually got to go on these trips and instead of being exploited or like have our worst moment shown and also some of our best, like for the sake of entertainment, like what if we did this as like really focused on the hero's journey element of it and kind of like built ourselves up for success. So I think I'm here in this life. I think my soul is here to kind of radiate the type of lifestyle that we should be living. And like the best way to do that, I feel like, is being a good dad. And so I'm trying to really embrace that stage of my life. And but boy, I have so many good memories.
What are some that stand out?
A lot of them that weren't captured. There's a couple of shows that they didn't show. One of them was this. We went into this labyrinth in Mexico, like an underground labyrinth, and we were chained to the walls. And then there'd be like we'd have to navigate with these torches through everything, and you dig and you dig and dig and dig, and you come up with a box, and the box has keys in it, but you have to figure out the puzzle. And well, all these torches somehow were like giving off smoke, and we didn't realize it, but we were like getting asphyxiated over time, right? Like people were like almost passing out. The crew was like, whatever, but like here, like that place was haunted as fuck, dude. Like I had shit being rubbed up and down. It was an old slave chambers. Like I had torches and stuff like that were just like straight gusted out. Like I was like I felt like I got run into, like in this long labyrinth hallway, like really fucking hard, like almost knocked backwards. And like I went into the sound guy behind me, and like that's the only time in the air, like that never showed, but like they got us out of there. They got us on oxygen. But like you have moments like that, or like the moment where we're breaking into the castle, like James Bond style, and like or Mission Impossible style. Like we put ourselves in so many type of things. We're like, yeah, we were supposed to clip into a rope, but like we didn't. Somehow we didn't. And it's like you look back on those type of really cool experiences in really cool places, and you appreciate your life because production can't always take care of you, but you think that they will on those shows. And you think that if like people are throwing rocks at you, well, like production will take care of that, right? Like it's a really interesting experience.
And you were pretty open about what was it? You had ADHD or ADD on that show too. Do you feel like that was a culture shock for you at that time of your life? Dealing with that on the show.
Yeah. So for those out there who are on medication, good for you for figuring out in order to sit still and like soak in all of the information in those like classroom situations or whatever. But like definitely like I had this cool thing where I experimented with my medication with my doctor and titrated different levels, would go off on weekends, would do different like would go off for the summers or whatever. And then I was really pushed by my parents to do these high adventure type camps where most of the kids are juvenile delinquents, but like you're rock climbing, you're biking for weeks through like fire trails or like old fire roads up in Maine and stuff. It really pushed beyond your like physical limitations, and you break down mentally. And I think that's why some of these inner city kids are like really, really tough and have had some tough things that have happened to them. And I just realized like if like the most badass kids that I was around could break down just by like exhausting themselves, and then they could connect, and then they could grow, and they could learn to trust and be vulnerable. I didn't learn that lesson until later on in life when I looked back on like the experiment that camp was for kids. And I really liked it a whole lot. What were we talking about again?
Oh, I was asking how much of it. Yeah.
No, I literally like just was like, oh yeah, I don't know. So ADD is a huge component, but like everybody has it these days. So Don't use it as a crutch. It makes you special. You have to figure out like your island of competency. You don't want to drug yourself down. And then you finally get like recognized for something or have like, and then it's like the thing that you're most embarrassed about, or like maybe that thing that like, there's a lot of kids out there who will just take themselves off medications, or like they'll go to the school nurse and they'll take the little paper cup and throw the pill under their tongue and either give it to a friend or sell it for weed, or like just not take it out of shame. And so, I think that brings me to a much more important thing is like MTV provided therapy after these shows. And if you're not using therapy for your mind and your spirit, like you use a gym for your body, you're missing out. Like therapy was the best thing that ever happened to me. And getting rid of the shame that goes along to it. It's not something that like our older generation, like our parents, could really lean into without being judged or thinking that like psychologists were quacks and stuff. So ADD is it's a great mixture of things. I think you can like with medication, behavioral therapy, like a strong network of teachers and parents who really care about you, but being vulnerable. Sometimes I just need to go out and, take a walk in the hallway. Like I had these amazing teachers who would like, I was right about to get in trouble. Like I was the kid, literally like, gosh, who was it? Aaron Hoyt? I am so sorry. I literally like was behind her in class and like literally like I don't know why, but I think this was 8th grade math class and Miss Chicks or whatever. Like I just cut her hair. Like it just cut like I lit another girl's hair on fire because I was just playing with a lighter. Like I did so much stupid shit just because like I couldn't control myself. So for those of us who are ADHD out there, it kind of like it just kind of gives us bumpers a little bit. You know what I mean? It gives us something to like navigate in between and just to really focus. And it feels good when you start being successful. So I'm not saying enough. ADD or just like learning to cope with whatever you think your handicap is. That's the key, right? Like instead of focusing on your weakness, focus on your strength and like just dial in your weakness a tiny little bit just so that like it doesn't hinder you, but like actually helps drive you and finds what your passions are in life. So many people go through life not having lived.
Mm-hmm. And that all draws back to my point that I feel like back when the shows were in their peak, when you were doing them, and obviously like that era, there was obviously a purpose for every cast member to be on the show. They're going to connect with someone that's watching it, and I feel like you might have carved your own kind of group of people that you pertain to in that regard. People that are dealing with ADD or ADHD.
Hey, whoever I can connect with and like motivate to get off the couch and do something with in life, like I love it.
Did that inspire you to kind of be active and stuff? Because you obviously you had another archetype. You were obviously very competitive. You did train a lot. Like, was that a part of that, a key component?
Yeah, like I'm not the 6-pack guy. Like I've never had a body type that's like super attractive, like for like modeling. Like I'm not that's not who I am, right? Like I'm just like, I can fucking run through a wall though, and I can endure more pain than almost anybody who I've ever met before. And so like while I love Alton and Landon and like I wish that I was like in that good of shape, like those guys are just like human specimen. Like I'm like Peloton strong, you know what I mean? Like
yeah.
But like I also just would never give up. And so I think that I got a lot out of sports. I got a lot out of exercise, and it gives you that dopamine hit or dopamine release that like that unfortunately some ADD people gravitate towards in drugs, and then it just gets them in trouble. Like our prisons are, I think they're like 25%. It's just a large population of people who never figured out what they were good at. But the thing with exercise is as soon as you incorporate it into your life, I believe that like it changes you chemically. And like I would get in all the trouble. I'd get detentions and inside suspension. Like I would just get in so much trouble, and it'd be like you'd look at the calendar of the year. It'd be like, yep, in between sports seasons, Adam just can't control himself because he doesn't have any outlet.
Play.
I was a soccer guy. I wasn't very good on the field, but they threw me in the goal, and I played goalie for a long time. I love soccer. I picked up a lacrosse stick later on in high school, and I love that. I tried to play in college for a little bit. I swam when I was younger, so like I swam and did track and snowboarded, and then kind of like all your outdoor sports, where mountain biking and running, all the. I was big into triathlons and adventure racing for a long time, just because it's really it's really grueling. And so I ran a few marathons, and I was like, this isn't that hard. I was like, I really want to break my body and then try to break my mind. And when I get to that place where like my body's broken and my mind's telling me to quit and my body can't go, and like there's just like at that point, and this is why adventure racing is cool, because like you're with a team. Like when you are the weakest member of the team, like others pull you up, and there's just like once you're broken mentally and physically, and then you get that human connection, which like offers you the ability to like be like, oh, I still have more in the tank somehow, but it's only because somehow somebody loves me. It's only because they're willing to like carry my backpack for me, and like that little act of kindness somehow makes me feel better about the world. Like it really expanded me. So yeah, I'm not the best athlete in the world, but like I'll never
I don't know. You had a reputation on the shows for being quite an athlete or a leader. I felt though, like I mean, everybody referred to you as like, I mean, you were like team captain like a handful of times. Everybody kind of had this reputation to you.
Yeah, I mean, they were all very kind.
The Gauntlet 2 loss was probably the lone stain on your otherwise impressive repertoire.
Dude, that is so funny. I like, and I was in a Trinidad Tobago. Could have been really interesting because that when I came back from that show, I got. Anyways, there was a lot of really cool people on that show, and I just didn't know how to compete because I did that showed that I really didn't watch any of the shows, but I still tried to compete physically with Derrick, who, by the way, like Derrick and I have never developed a friendship, but we're friends with all of the same people. And if there's ever like a reason that we didn't develop a friendship, it's probably because we're exactly the same. So Derrick's like, I respect the heck out of him. He's a fierce little competitor. I tried to beat his ass and like couldn't, like straight up, like he's awesome. Like I owe him a hug and a high five.
There was a trivia aspect to that, though. That was a little wonky and weird. It was like you guys had to run after coconuts. I don't know how it would have went down if it was just a straight on like gladiator bat. You might have been better off because
I mean, like
element to it.
So I grew up in a toxic household, so like I rather talk down conflict, but I also like confrontation. I prefer to stand up for other people, but like there was a time period there where they were trying to get like boxing matches together for Abe and I, and like, or Abram and I, or like, would you fight CT? Would you do all of this other type of stuff? And I was like, man, like this seems kind of fucked up. Like I just put together a team.
That was real?
Yeah, there was like, I think they really did boxing matches and stuff. Like,
wow, I didn't know that.
And so I would always want to try to compete with them, but like, I'm not a fighter.
Lover, not a fighter.
Yeah, like even when punches are thrown, I definitely just go in for the takedown. Like, oh, I'm a big bear. Like, I'll just like disarm you type of thing. But like, I don't ever want to hit anybody.
Yeah. Did you like the challenges? Like, how serious did you maybe take them? Because if you look at it now, you flip on the channel, it's an entirely different show than when you were last on Gauntlet 2. It's almost like night and day. Were they taking that serious back then? Like, was it like something you really had to like train for, or?
That's the problem with challenges is like you're going in right now, like people are getting in such great shape for the challenge, but they're not like I'm not sure if they're real challenges that require people to be in that good of shape, so to speak. And like when you do those type of things to your body, for the people who are just doing it all natural, like good for them. But for the people who like are like, getting in the best shape of their life with substances and everything, like it's an animal house, man. Like it doesn't feel safe. I stay as far away from those people as I can. I used to try to engage with them because I tried to see the best in everybody, and I tried to like empathize or like just like connect with everybody because I wanted everybody to like me. Now I don't have the time for that type of stuff, and frankly, I'm out of fucks. You know what I mean? Like, just if I was to go back on a challenge, I would just try to associate with like the best people I could.
Was there a lot going on in that, like, or a lot of that going on when you were on the show, like people talking about substances and stuff? Because that's like a big rumor.
Yeah, I mean, like
you don't have to get into specifics, but like, did it exist rather?
Yeah.
Okay, we can leave it at that. But speaking of challenges, I'm sure you've had to have heard through the grapevine of all-star shows that have just come out, which is a spin-off, pretty much bringing back old school people who haven't been on the show in a while. We just obviously alluded to your Quest cast members. They've been dipping at the well for those. We've had Katie, Hisela, Sophia, Steve even have all competed in the past year. Has there been any feelers thrown to Adam Larson? And if so, who or how did you first hear or were reached out to?
I mean, I said yes a couple times, and I just didn't feel like getting my passport renewed. To be completely honest, it's like, you know, when I love being a dad, and I was going through custody issues, and I'm a single dad, and you know, going out on doing those type of just you can't just leave the kids, nor do I want to, and I just have to keep on. I want to go back and do something. I don't know how to do it though. Like I'm helping my brother with an IT consultancy. Like I'm helping run that, and really like leaning into being a dad. And there's this beautiful article by Peter Urban, or anyway, it's called like The Tail End. But basically, it's how we spend 90% of our time with our parents in the years like up to 18, right? And then the rest of that time, that last like 20% is, or 10% if it's truly 90, but like Pareto's whatever is like 80-20, right? So even if we've only spent 80% of our time with our parents, and like the next 20 to 40 years we have with them is like at holidays or like family reunions. I don't know. It's not that intentional. So like, I'm a big fan of like trying to do things multi-generationally. And I think that instead of just looking at like how you're going to spend time with your parents, like how are your parents going to spend time with you? Like that way as a parent now, like I'm looking at the kids and like, I don't want this to be 80% of my time with them. I don't want to be enmeshed in their lives where like where I cause them to be codependent, but I do want them to feel supported. And I would love to be able to like be in a state of appreciation during those stages of their life, not just their childhood and adolescence.
How did you first get approached to the All-Stars thing? Like, was it Mark that reached out, or was it a producer that reached out to you?
I think Mark called, but I was just really disconnected on social media, and I think it was finally T who's like, or Trishelle who's like they're trying to get in touch with you, and I was like, oh, awesome, and Katie and you know, everybody's like, there've been a couple people who reached out, and then but the casting, they found me. Somebody was like, hey Adam, go check your Instagram, you idiot.
Was it ever a close call for you, or did it really not get close to going?
No. I mean, like, I may have even signed the contract or something. I just like,
wow.
I'm literally going through like family court, doing child custody type stuff, and like trying to figure out how to possibly be ready by August and get the my passport renewed. And I was just kind of like, I don't know. I just didn't feel like the juice was worth the squeeze. Like I'm finally at this beautiful stage in my life where I am not fighting with somebody for custody, and I am in a beautiful job, and that experience was that awesome vacation. It was that like, and from so everybody wanted to get together, right? But not a single person has come back to me and said it was worth it. Every single person, like,
have you asked?
I stopped in Kentucky. Like we were going up to see my girlfriend's family up in Michigan, and we stopped in Kentucky, and like any opportunity that I have to see people, I would like. Katie's special, and so like we're just sitting there, and like she was going back on another one, but I think she was still like,
she went on the first two.
Yeah, like she was strategic about it. the like I was just kind of chatting with her about that, and I was chatting with her family, and they were like, "Hey, this could be a really good opportunity, like for financials. We have this strong like a good idea for an investment." And like, I just love seeing. She was like, she'd so leaned into like being a mom and who she was, and was just like, "Hey, if I can still provide and help out, but you've really got to make sure it's worth that time away from your family, and also you have no idea what's going to show up. Like somebody could say something really mean, like really, really mean, especially people who are like embracing that character, like where financially it benefits them to like continue to perpetuate that character, if you know what I mean."
Mm-hmm. So it sounds
I
like
feel bad for girls because I have two little beautiful girls who are like I'm trying to raise to be Princess Ninja Warriors, and if they ever got an awesome opportunity to be on a show, and like somebody was like trying to make them into like I don't know, like here's what my two favorite I don't know, in fact, I don't want to say favorites, but like you're either portrayed as a bitch or as a whore. Like, is that fair? Like, how is that possibly fair?
Women definitely on these shows, 100%.
The female,
maybe a bit of a direction now, but there's still a tremendous double standard that exists in entertainment right now.
Yeah, it's like, where's the boss? Like, where's the woman who embraces like just like owns it and like is powerful and like you want to change the course of a family, you educate the woman because you know that she'll share and nurture and like they're just kind, whereas like sometimes like us men need to pass the reins to the women. I think we've been like, I think we've taken our turn at the front. It's time to block and tackle for the women, the Angela Merkels and the Jacinda Ardern's or like what? Yeah, I don't know. I just like I love the female leadership approach to COVID. They were inclusive versus exclusive, and I feel like that's how even these shows are getting. Like when I hear people talk about new cast members, whether they're fresh meat or whatever, it's like all these little pockets. Like, oh, that person's in sports or that person's just new. It's like, what happened to the inclusive type of thing? I remember that the old cast members just used to be the coolest because they were so welcoming. You know what I mean? Like they were just like, yeah, it was beautiful.
Eras are just different. That's all you could pretty much chalk it up to now.
That's a great point.
The genre has just changed, unfortunately, and they're just trying to hit certain demographics now, unfortunately.
Well, I think it's like who's got the most followers or likes, just because like it's an obvious like it's a measure. It's measurable, right? Like it's one of those metrics that they can actually measure. But we vote with our attention. You know, they always say you vote with your dollars, but your time is worth even more than your dollars. So I was watching that Love Is Blind show, and do you watch any other reality TV? Like my girlfriend, like I
don't watch TV, man. I'm just like a grandpa. I do these, I work out, go to bed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, when I'm not riding the Peloton or like reading stories with the girls or charting crypto, like try to do some technical analysis. Like I'll watch the other train wrecks, the human train wrecks that are on TV. And you can get drama anywhere. You don't need to do challenges. You can stick people in rooms.
Listen, you bring up the word drama, and I hate to have to bring up this last point, but people would wring my neck if I didn't. We have to talk about your final show with that sequence that went down between you and Abe. What the heck didn't we see that sparked that? Because all we know from what was shown was you're volunteering yourself to go into the pit, and I believe Susie was as well. Abram's not on the chopping block, but something just set off. Do you, like, from your recollection, do you even know, like, how we got from point A, which is just banter, to obviously point B, which we saw?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of those type of situations where it's just kind of like what was modeled for you. I bet you Abram wasn't able to trust a lot of people. So when it came time for me to be like, hey, let's just all take our turn, all go into it. It's a stressful environment. Like I was trying to like reverse engineer the success for like, how do we do the viewers' revenge thing? And like, how do we go into the pit and make it fair And I'm always trying to figure out like, hey, what's fair, and then I'll go first. And I just don't think he ever like. I don't think he ever trusted me, so we didn't have a very good relationship to work on, and I just was like, I kind of thought his behavior was. I didn't think like poking at him and like kind of laughing at him would escalate the situation. I thought it would diffuse the situation, and when I realized that I could get a response out of him, I was like, okay, well, if he's not going to trust me and I can get a response, like, let's just have a little fun here. And I was immature. Like, I think I was making like Hulk Hogan jokes and like wrestling type of stuff. And I was like, really, Abram? Like, because like, yeah, like, I don't know. Even back then, I feel like I was a grown up in like you use your words, right? Like,
you did to name a couple quotes, Adam. You had a couple fire one-liners. I have
did
written
I
here.
relive it for
off
me?
Hulk Hogan is one of them, and then I'll just never get the image out of my head. You're sitting on a I don't even. You're on a chair. You're on a chair.
Yeah, with my hot dad bod.
With your hot dad bod, and you've got a magazine out, and you've got glasses on. You look like a bumblebee. I'm just being honest, Adam.
Yep. My old school. I feel like those are my old like Rudy Project like triathlon glasses or something. They're horrible.
And Abram's yelling stuff at you. You're not even looking at him, and you're just like, you haven't even hit puberty yet, Abram.
Yeah. I thought he was kind of arrested in his development, but that was just me being mean.
No,
that wasn't nice.
You thought, aside from like some of the, but if someone's yelling at you, you're just gonna yell something back. To say that someone's not is very, unrealistic to say. But aside from that, I thought you handled it very well. You didn't throw any punches at him.
No, and who knows? You probably would have kicked
down. I thought the funniest part, Shane was trying to break it up. And then it goes from Shane trying to pull Abram to you're holding Abram away from Shane.
Yeah, so like I do get like the only time I'll get physical is if somebody else is like if somebody else is attacked or whatever, and so that there was like a fuse that was blown there for me, and the girls were feeling super super unsafe around him, and so it's just like nobody needs to be in an abusive relationship, and I used to think that it's like it's okay to like because these people just exist, but they don't. Like I'm not anybody who's like being abusive, like hurt, and also hurt people don't get to hurt people either. Like that's not cool. Like we need to all be woke enough and do the work at this point in our life to be like, all right, like is this coming from a place of like I'm not going to sit here and pontificate, but like we just all need to. If I try to explain God to the girls because I was agnostic for a long time, it's pretty tough to explain God to a 6 and 7 year old, but I'm going to do my best to like kind of tell you what I tell them. I say, I think God is everywhere and that he's inside all of us and that it's exhibited. I think that when you see the God inside of us, it's love and kindness. And I don't think that God looks like anything. I think it's kind of the energy that brings this beautiful planet into existence and that flows, these patterns flow through life. And that if you just can figure out what you like and move into that river, that flow or whatever, and kind of like be kind and be whatever we feel like, then the Bible stories and all of the other stories about God are just really good stories that we need to pay attention to. But like the God is in us. Yeah. Like God's not, it's the kindness, it's the love, it's the connection. So, I don't know what I've got all sorts of spiritual feelings these days, and
listen, you seem to have cleansed that part of your life out. So I'm glad to hear that. You seem like a very zen guy these days.
I try to be, man. Yeah, thank you. I hope to share that with as many people as I can.
Yeah. Did that experience, the sequence, like rub you away from wanting to do another show, or were you already out the door anyway? Do you feel like?
Okay. As soon as I went into the spirits business, and just couldn't do shows for like, once you have a job, you can't navigate that time away. Outside of the whole financial type of thing about losing money. I mean, there's like, I love what Wes has done. Like, I love he's basically like consulting in startups. I love that people went back and got their degrees. Like, even if it was 8 years later type of thing. Like, I love that this show didn't like completely derail. It didn't derail certain people. And that they're still figuring out what the other things they are to do. And they're like, the show never rubbed me the wrong way. It just stopped providing opportunities.
Okay, that makes sense.
So it all just
go ahead.
It's a pretty, like, I also like took my winnings and made some like bad investments. I got scammed a couple times. I lent money to people who chose not to return it. I don't know. Just like, the only reason to go back on the show sometimes is financial gains, and money is not my driver. Just because it's been, there's been issues with it. So
yeah, well, it seems like for one reason or another, life's just kind of taking you down a path, and that path seems to be, forming into something at least good right now. It seems. I would hope, and I think everything just kind of worked itself out for a reason, That's all. That's pretty much the only outlook you could look on it. Like,
everything happens for a reason. And I meditate a lot and I journal a lot, and every day I just kind of write down 3 things I'm grateful for. It's a great way to start off the day.
Beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. That's ironic because I actually thought about that recently, finishing off my podcast with the same thing. I'm not even like, no bullshit. I just thought about this 2 days ago. I was like, I'm thinking of like a theme or something. I'm gonna start asking at that, like, as the last question every single guest I have. What are 3 things you're grateful? Yeah,
I love.
I actually just thought about that.
You should do that. You want to start episode 130 with 3 things.
We'll do that. But after this one last question, are there any cast members that you keep up with these days, if any?
A little bit. Like I saw Katie. I keep in touch with Rochelle a little bit. I try to, like, when I go down to New Orleans, like, I always check in on her and her husband John. I would make time for anybody. Yeah, like, I don't have this. I mean, Los Angeles was amazing just because of proximity, but I keep in touch with people. I kind of have the Eco Challenge stuff that I did with Timmy and with Jenna and Ethan. We kind of keep a little chat thread going. I think people I'm not the best at keeping in touch. I've been living under a rock while I was going through, like, the last decade's been pretty tough. And so, like, I'm finally kind of pulling like a phoenix type of thing and trying
rise from the ashes. There you go.
Yeah. I gotta move the boulder out of the way first.
Listen, man, it's normal to kind of, when you're going through something, you have to get through it. That the only way through. When you're going through something, the only way to go through it is to go right through it, is where I was getting at. And you have to do it. Nobody's going to get you through it. You have to do it yourself. So if that means, kind of compromising everyday communication with some people for the betterment of yourself, that's all you can pretty much ask for.
Yeah, totally.
So now, gratitude, since I didn't mean to cut you off before, but just had to do it. So this will be number 130. We'll see if this will be an omen for things to come. But Adam Larson, 3 things you're grateful for.
I'm grateful for I'm grateful for my daughters. I'm grateful for my partner, Allie, and I'm grateful for my family. I never could have bounced. Like, I've been through a bunch of bad things, and like, just when I say bad things, it could be, running a marathon, or like bad things come into your life, surgeries, whatnot, but like, not things that knock you out, but like, it's all about, like, all right, how quickly can you bounce back? And when I've been surrounded by love, I bounce back a whole lot quicker. So I'm just so grateful that, people are kind to me and patient. So
yeah,
I could give you a laundry list, but I feel like family is just like, my family is the most important thing to me right now. With, like, and I count Allie as part of my family. So
Yeah. Well, that's a beautiful thing to be grateful for, but I can't help but feel like with the patience thing, I kind of felt it ring right through me with me trying to get you on this thing. I don't know if that was subliminal or not. I'm just kidding.
No, thank you for being patient. This
Yeah.
has been fun. It's been therapeutic.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm glad we got to connect. I had a ton of fun chatting with you, and in the future, if we ever want to do like a Q&A style thing, for some questions that fans watching this are going to be still curious about, we could maybe revisit. But I'm thankful. I'm thankful
Yeah.
that you're so generous with your time today, and this was fun. This was a ton of fun.
Yeah, put it together. Let's keep in touch. And like I'm overly transparent and overly vulnerable. So like I think people are surprised with some of the things that come out of my mouth just because like I'm I'm trying to I'm trying to make sure I get every experience out of life. And like so there is no topic that I won't talk about because you never know who's sitting there who might kind of relate to it somehow. And that's just all they need to be like, you know what? Adam's gone through it. Like I don't know. I just let me share my love with people. Anybody who's got questions, ask them. If there's something I can help out with, let me know. I don't check social media, but like Datum
Maybe
Larson.
I could relay a message or something like that, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, especially if anybody out there is like walking on eggshells and dealing with like a loved one with like a like mental illness, like a personality disorder, any of that type of stuff, or like just people who are just trying to love themselves.
Hmm.
Because like sometimes that like inner critic is the worst. Is like we need to just be kinder to ourselves, like to change our perspective. So
Hmm.
yeah, man, let's reconnect. Let's stay in touch.
For sure. All right.
Let me wait. Let me waste more of your time with my like long-winded answers that just like circle and circle and
No,
circle to
no,
be
no,
being
no.
like, what did you ask again, Mike?
All right. Have a great rest of your day. And I'll link this to you whenever it's up. I'm expecting later today at some point, if that's fine.
That's awesome, man. Thanks so much.
All right. Take care.
You too.